This one has been requested quite a bit. Camera basics, everything that you need to know as a beginner using a DSLR camera. Let's get started. Hey, it's AKAJK, welcome back to another episode of the AKAJK Show, the show that happens every single weekday on this YouTube channel and IGTV. We're going hard now, episode 12 I do believe, and this is going to be a camera basics video where I discuss all the basics that you need to know for first handling a DSLR as a beginner. Without these things on lockdown, then you'll never be able to get some crispy photos like you see right now. And if you want to see my sort of photo gallery collection kind of thing, obviously head over to IG at AKAJK. My main place for posting my photos, post like 4 times a day there. You know, follow me there. At AKAJK, of course. Yeah, let's get started with the camera basics. Anyways, number 1 is FPS, frames per second. Very, very important. The usual FPS for filming is 25 or 30. This is, I do believe, in 25. However, if you watch films, they're filmed in 24 frames per second because it looks more cinematic. So if you're making a short film, definitely 24 frames per second. Then there are obviously going to be slow-mo options. You have 60 FPS, which is not really slow-mo. It's sort of a more buttery, smooth, normal kind of video. 120 FPS, the standard for slow-mo. If you want to see what they look like, check out Peter McKinnon. He's the king of slow-mo. Really beautiful. And then after that, smartphones like the iPhone 10, they start getting really crazy, like 960 FPS with the new S9 or something like that. This one has like 320 or something. They get high. You're usually going to be recording at 25 frames per second or something like that. So, brings me on to number 2. With 25 frames per second, you got to double that because of the 1/50th rule, and your shutter speed will come 50th of a second. That's just how it works. Always double your frame rate to get your shutter speed. If you don't, the motion blur in the video will be weird, unnatural, doesn't look that good. Now there are several things that you're going to need to know about shutter speed. So, you're shooting fast moving objects, cars, sports, definitely got to increase the shutter speed to like 1/2500th of a 1/250th, whatever of a second, so you can capture that without any blur. If you're shooting longer exposures, definitely take it down, maybe as low as you can, so the camera takes like much longer to flip and take the shot. The higher it is, the darker the shot becomes. The lower it is, the brighter the shot becomes. So obviously you're going to have to compensate with other settings. Now on to number 3, which is ISO. This is all about light. More so fake light. Not the nice kind. Let me explain. Basically, this is digital light that you add to the video or photo on the camera. If it's too dark, you've got to crank up the ISO, but the problem is the higher you crank up the ISO, the more grain and noise and horrible, stuff that comes out on the video. The lower the ISO, the better. Period. If you go above 800, it's going to start getting really grainy. The better the camera, the better it does in low light, which means the better it can handle the high ISOs. I know the Sony is really good at that, like the A7s and stuff like that. They shoot really well at like 1600, 3200. They don't get really grainy. Check what your camera is. If you're on a budget camera, likely going above 800, not good. Unless you have to film at night or something, then you got to crank up the ISO. Apart from that, try your best to not crank the ISO up because the video just doesn't look good. If I was to summarize ISO, it is the sensitivity of the sensor or fake light. Now, number 4 is aperture. So the aperture, in simple terms, is how much light the lens is letting in. So I'm using the Canon kit lens with a standard aperture of f3.5. The higher the aperture, the lower the number, the more light it lets in. I know it sounds confusing. You can replay that 50 million times, create a little loop for yourself and listen to it every day. That's what you need to know about the aperture mainly. Also, the more bokeh, which is background bokeh or depth of field, essentially how blurred the background is. Right now I don't want the background to be blurred, which is why I'm sat right next to the background, so I create less depth because I want the background to seem, all-encompassing. I can't really do that because of the window right there, but I'm in a bit of a sticky situation, so I've got to do what I got to do. But if you've seen those leaf photos that I post, you can see whether like the leaves are like really focused and the backgrounds are blurred and colorful. That's because I've mastered the art of aperture. I'd usually keep that on an f3.5 to get it as blurry as possible in terms of background. Now, if you have to shoot an f3.5, which isn't very fast aperture, or like an f12 or something, then let me know in the comment section down below, and I can make an entire video on how to get real blurry backgrounds with like slow apertures. So in the comment section down below, just let me know. Now number 5 is by far the most important thing. That is to like and subscribe and turn on notifications to dramatically improve your camera skills. Takes you from the basic, gives you that pow, and takes you to the next level. Because, all jokes aside, the AKAJK show is all about tech, cameras, photography, filmmaking is all in tech. So this show will provide you with tons of tips, tricks, all that kind of jazz to boost your photography and videography skills to the next level with that pow, the kapow that you need. Check out a few videos that I've done about photography in the cards above or description down below or somewhere. Follow me on all social medias at AKAJK, you know. Obviously, for those legit pics, you know where to go. Then you can check out my feed, see the photos that I've got, get some inspiration. If you like to learn anything about photography, DM me, I don't know, comment down below, whatever. That's about it. Hopefully I'll see you in tomorrow's episode, because here at JK Media, the grind is daily.